The princess's room. In a kingdom nestled amongst rolling hills stood a magnificent castle, but a shadow had fallen upon it, a sadness that seeped into its very stones. For the prince, though surrounded by splendor, carried a heavy heart. A prophecy foretold that only a princess, one who could fill the room at the top of the tower, could become his queen and restore joy to the kingdom. For on his 18th birthday, invitations, ornate scrolls tied with royal ribbons, were sent to every maiden in the land. A grand ball was held, a dazzling display of silks and jewels. One by one, the maidens, each hoping to win the prince's hand and save the kingdom, were escorted to the tower room. It was a huge chamber, but filled with potential. But to each maiden, it remained stubbornly empty, devoid of any special feeling. As the weeks turned into months, and no princess was found, despair settled over the kingdom. The once vibrant marketplaces grew silent, the castle walls became draped with vines, and the prince withdrew into his grief. His heart, like the princess's room, felt empty and cold. One day, a lone traveler, her simple clothes hinting at a life on the road, arrived at the castle. Seeing its sorrowful state, she inquired about its plight. The prince, weary and resigned, recounted the tale of the princess's room and his lost hope. "Might I try?" the traveler asked. The prince scoffed. "There's no use. No one could fill the room. I am destined to be alone." But the traveler persisted, and something in her earnest gaze made the prince realize she wouldn't leave until she did. So reluctantly, he allowed her into the castle, through the crumbling walls and down to the desolate courtyard. As she walked, she felt the castle's pain, the weight of its sorrow. The vines, the spiderwebs, the cracks in the walls, they spoke of a kingdom's heartbreak. She climbed the tower steps, each one echoing with the silence of the empty castle. The air grew colder, and a dance of the cold wind seemed to whisper of loneliness. At the end of the hallway, a single door stood before her, leading into darkness. "Enter darkness," Prince urged traveler on. "You might as well try." She stepped into the darkness. The prince closed the door behind her. He waited, listening. Suddenly he heard a sound. "Wait, is that a bird?" He opened the door, and what he saw astonished him. The room was no longer empty. It was filled with light, paintings adorned the walls, flowers bloomed in vases, and birds sang sweetly. And bathed in the light stood the traveler, now adorned in a beautiful gown and a crown of gold and diamonds. "I am your princess," she said. "I am the one you waited for." "But how?" the prince stammered. "This room was empty." "Filled it," she smiled warmly. Just then, they heard a noise outside the window. They rushed to look, and a breathtaking sight met their eyes. The night had lifted, the sun was shining, and the kingdom had returned to life. Servants bustled about the castle, cooks prepared feasts, and the people rejoiced. "Our king has found his queen," they cried. "Our kingdom has been restored. Happiness is born in the land." The prince, now king, watching from the window with tears in his eyes, finally understood. The castle wasn't just a building, it was his heart. The empty room was the emptiness within him. And the princess hadn't just filled a room, she had filled his heart with love. The moral of the story: sometimes, the hardest heart to fill is our own. True love isn't something we can force. It's a gift that arrives when we least expect it, transforming our emptiness into joy.